One of the questions that I've been asked about most recently from a lot of lawyers is how do I build a personal brand? And what does personal brand even mean? To me, it just simply means what is it that you want to become known as by others. And 2026, I think, is a great time to actually start thinking about how you want to become known because there is a lot of uncertainty out there with layoffs, with AI supposedly replacing all of us. And I think having something that you are known for, that people count on as a sense of authority in a particular niche, gives you a lot of agency and freedom because once you start to do that, you don't really have to rely on your company or your credentials to really get opportunities. People start coming to you because you are the trusted voice in that particular niche. So if this is something that you are interested in, I'm going to give you a very simple step to start building your personal brand. So, my recommendation for how you can start building a personal brand is to start weighing in on hot legal topics. Let's say you have a practice area that you actually want to become known as. Maybe you want to be the go to employment litigator, entertainment litigator. Then, what you want to do is start writing about hot legal topics that relate to that area of practice. And I want to share with you an example of a lawyer who did just that. So, Ashley is a lawyer that I met through a webinar that I hosted on this precise topic of building a personal brand. And she has been a litigator for a very long time. But her passion has always been entertainment law. But she just felt like she didn't have the expertise yet to write on the topic. But after attending one of my webinars, she actually gathered up the courage to write about the topic. And after she did, she actually sent me this really nice message that doing so has opened up a lot of doors for her, both personally and professionally. So I had to talk to her and find out what she meant by that. So apparently, Ashley wrote a post on LinkedIn about a very hot topic at the time, which was Frankie Paul and the incident that led her to end up getting canceled from being the new bachelorette on the hit ABC show. And when she wrote about this topic, it was just something that she was very interested in. She had been a longtime fan of the show, so this topic was highly relevant for her. And I don't think when she first started posting, she meant to have this image as an entertainment lawyer. But by writing about this hot topic, she became a person who was interviewed as an entertainment lawyer by various media, from USA Today to Page Six. And the cool thing is that both of these publications actually referred to her in the article as a person who actually speaks on this topic simply because she started posting about it on LinkedIn. And one thing that I do want to share is that I totally understand the sentiment that many lawyers have that they may not have 10, 20 years of experience in a particular practice area. So they don't feel comfortable positioning themselves as someone who could speak on a particular topic. But as Ashley shows, you can write about something that is in your wheelhouse, especially if you spent a lot of time researching it and actually knowing what the law is. It's not too late to start because what people want to hear is not always from the experts who have decades of experience. They want to learn from people who may just be a couple steps ahead. And you become sort of an authority figure in that practice area by starting to write about these topics. And in order to do that, you have to start somewhere. You can't get experience overnight. And by learning more and more about the topic and writing about it, you become the expert naturally. And after those publications came out, the ball kept rolling and getting bigger because she was invited to speak at a bar association on this topic, and over 900 people came to watch her speak. And all of this compounded from this one post that she wrote, and that was the start. So, again, I hope this gives you some encouragement that you don't have to always have years and years of experience to speak on a particular topic, with the caveat that you have done the research and actually looked into it or talked to the people who you need to talk to make sure that the facts are correct. But once you've done that and you've already written about the topic for your law firm, for example, then why not post about it on LinkedIn and share your take on that particular legal topic that's already trending? I've also written posts myself about hot topics, such as, I know this was a while ago, but when Kendrick Lamar performed Not Like Us a couple years ago for the Super Bowl, I wrote about that topic and whether or not that could be a case for a defamation suit from Drake. And that got, what, almost 20,000 impressions? The power of these hot legal topics is that they are very top of mind for people already. And so when you comment on it and people are already thinking about it, you're bound to get a lot of visibility on your posts. And another example is Nicole, who wrote about the show White Lotus and how Duke kept coming up as a logo within the show, but was associated with what I would argue as an evil character in the show. And does that actually cross the trademark line? That was a question that she used. So, one thing that I do want to mention, in order to actually comment on these hot legal topics, one thing you have to keep in mind is that the first line or two lines has to be curiosity invoking enough for people to actually want to read your full post. So in both of these cases, Kendrick Lamar was mentioned very early on. White Lotus was mentioned in the very first sentence as well. And the image that was included in each of those posts immediately grabbed the reader's attention because you recognize that image as a very highly relevant topic at that time. And so when you write posts like this, remember to reference that exact hot topic, include a relevant image if possible, so people have their attention grabbed with that image and are kind of pulled in. But a great way to do this is either to include a question, as Nicole does here. Did White Lotus cross the trademark line with this prominent use of Duke University name and logo? And on the left, I didn't include a question, but what I did include is a curiosity invoking hook. So I said Kendrick Lamar called out Drake's defamation suit, but Drake's actually not suing Lamar. So in order to learn who Drake is actually suing, people have to click see more. And one thing to keep in mind for any post that you write on LinkedIn is that the first two lines is the most important because, as you see in both of these cases, LinkedIn doesn't show the full text of the post. They're going to ask readers to click the post and see more in order to read the full post. So if your first two lines or even first line isn't that interesting and doesn't reference the hot topic right away, then people are not going to get interested in the post and want to read the full thing. So the first two lines is very, very important, and that's something to keep in mind when you write these posts. And it doesn't always have to be something about Hollywood or entertainment to be getting a lot of impressions on these posts. You can write about a local hot topic that is occurring. So, for example, I live in Southern California in Orange County, and everyone probably knows this very particular Korean dish that is highly popular. And it is a signature dish at this really popular restaurant. And one of the lawyers that I know actually wrote a post about how this restaurant is suing their competitor who copied this exact presentation of their signature dish. So that also, I think if you're local to the area, or maybe even if you're not, the image as well as the hook of, hey, this is happening, this is a interesting case, and who won? And then people have to click see more to find out who that winner is. That gets people really interested. So this is another great way to actually comment on a legal topic that may be highly relevant, maybe to your practice area or to your local region. So all that to say, writing about hot legal topics is one way that you could become the go-to person or the go-to lawyer in this particular practice area. And I would love to encourage you to try it. And if there's other topics that you think would be helpful for me to cover, shoot me a DM. All right, bye-bye.